to live without fear in a world that's secure. Some say it's a fool's dream, but I'm not so sure. I see all your faces on my TV, driven and hungry with eyes full of tears, mourning your children, fathers and friends, caught in a war that just never ends. How long will it be till your life is mine, and all I believe in has turned into lies? With all that I am and all that I have, I send you this token, this love from my heart. Oh, I've seen a place much more than a dream, a place of such beauty it hurts just to see, a place of no pain, no crying, no war, where peace is the treasure that has been restored. If I had one wish, it would be this. It would be this.
Good morning and welcome everybody. Each one of us is emerging stories rooted from the start of our journey. Our stories possess a spark and power, some to, of course, comfort and heal, and many to inspire necessary transformations, whereas others to connect and provide clarity. But the most important and famous story we tell ourselves is a script we write in our minds, which is based on our experiences or our perceptions. Globally today at this time, we're going through a drastic transformational shift, a shift politically, socially, and our economy is a challenge. So during these times of trial, we are emotionally challenged and triggered to some degree. Of course, the percentage may vary individually. However, the fears of the uncertainties can get the best of us in the form of anxiety, stress, taking the very gift of this shift that has come to us in disguise. You all must be wondering that, how can we not be concerned about what the future holds? Because we're all affected on many levels. We're affected mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, socially, and spiritually. So the big question here to ask is that how do we harness the courage at our thresholds to show up for ourselves and others? How do we begin to see things differently, to grow versus inflicting our pain or hurt on others during this time? As something that is triggered within us right now, how do we identify and trigger those triggers in our stories and become or begin a new script? So the shift that we are experiencing right now, how can we learn from it and move forward towards our growth? So in our honor today, it's an honor today to have our special guest who began his career at CBC Radio Canada over 30 years ago. His story actually of how he even began or started his journey in media sparks zeal and enthusiasm. And one of the stories we must hear from him, because every time I hear his story, it sparks something within me for sure. So right now he provides specialist training to journalists and producers throughout Canada. His journey in spirituality began with BK in 1983. So he is a student and a teacher of Raj Yoga. He currently serves as national coordinator and participates in various international projects, including Images and Voices of Hope, which is dedicated to inspiring new restorative narratives in media. So let's hear from, please help me welcome Brother Eric L'Arrest. Brother, thank you and welcome. I'm just going to change the shift there. It is an honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dimple. Very sweet of you.
In the world where we see everything that is shifting, it's evolving, and but in this shift, something is triggered in each and every one of us, very different. And even though this is time for us to reflect, not only what is going on outside of us, but mostly what is going on and happening within us, how do we begin that journey, not outwards, but how do we begin that journey inward so we can reflect and identify and transform what this time is asking of us? Because as we all agree that it's something bigger that is evolving. So how do we begin that journey?
Thank you. And this is a big question to start. So first of all, I want to thank you for this lovely introduction. And also just to acknowledge this reality where we are connecting through Zoom or different media now. I work in television, but I never thought I would be working in Zoom one day, which is a little bit different. Also, I want to acknowledge the fact that today here in Montreal, where I am, it's extremely hot. I think it's more than 32 degrees. It's, I think, 34 in my apartment right now. And
wow.
there's no air conditioning. So there's no air conditioning right here. So you might find myself a little bit shining, and it's not spirituality, it's just heat. So whatever glow you see is just heat at the moment. But it's quite, in a way, quite accurate, because I'll be talking about maybe not necessarily global warming, but the way the world is shifting and changing at the moment. I want also to just take a minute to say hello to everyone. I don't see you. Maybe later I'll try to scroll through the different cameras if they're on. Maybe at the end we can turn them on, I don't know, but I'm trying to imagine your presence. Normally when we speak to an audience, we see the faces, and my aim when I talk to a group is usually to make everyone smile and make sure that everyone, first of all, is awake until the end of the talk, and eventually keep a smile on the whole time. And so I won't be able to see your smile, but I'll try to feel it in the little hole of my camera here. So special greetings to all of you, each one individually, really, by your name. So greetings from Montreal here. And yes, a very big question to start and a very big topic as well, because of course we're all watching the world at the moment and we're all watching what's happening, and everybody is wondering what will happen also in the future. I have this opportunity at the moment. I'm still working at CBC Radio Canada in Montreal, work in television, and I'm producing at the moment a special series of programs that will be aired probably maybe December or more likely in March next year. So to underline the first anniversary of this pandemic. And what we're looking at actually in that documentary is after necessarily going to be like before? Do we need to go back in the after the way we were before? And of course, we all know this dynamic at the moment that there was a crisis, and there is a crisis still going on dramatically in some countries in the world. We don't know if it's not going to come back to us. We don't know if it's not going to even turn into something else. So lots of uncertainties. But we're looking at the future. And I don't know, I know in BC, you've been many probably watching in BC, but the confinement were a little bit earlier than here in the East. Montreal was the epicenter of the crisis in Canada. So we're slowly opening everything, swimming pools, tennis courts, schools will open in September. Of course, all the shopping malls have been reopening or reopened on Monday. So we're thinking, okay, we're going back to normal. But many have been putting big signs on the balcony saying, we hope we are not going back to normal because the normal was the problem. It's a little long introduction, but my point is that looking at the future may stop us from looking deep within ourselves to know, are we planting the seeds now in the present for the future that we want to see in our world? And I'll also just take a minute to mention, I just watched last night because of my work, and I'm actually working tonight, so I have to go, and there's a big demonstration in Montreal tonight protesting the ways the governments are responding at the moment to the crisis in order to take this opportunity to make big steps in improving the environment. And as you know, we're going through a health crisis at the moment, but many are saying that it's connected, and it will be connected to the environmental crisis that we're going through. And where we're going to go together in the next hour is that this is connected actually to a spiritual crisis. And the connection between my inner world and the world that I see outside is a very tight connection. And this is going to be the central point, I think, of the reflection today. So I watched last night a documentary, which is available, I think, on all the main media, Bell and Videotron and Rogers. And it's called 2040, and it's a fascinating documentary. Top economists, environmentalists, thinkers, philosophers, and a father who is looking at his young daughter, I think she's 6 or 8 years old, and he's thinking, what will be the state of the world in 20 years from now? And he goes around the world and he's showing us what is existing at the moment that will have the potential to change completely the world in a much better world, the way that we've been hearing in the song just before, If I Have a Wish. And I don't know if you paid attention to the words of the song, but when we were listening to the song, it says that, you know, if I have a wish, I would see the world in such a beauty that it will be almost painful to watch. I guarantee you it's not that painful. It's actually very pleasant. But watching a world that will be the world that we want to live in. When I watched this documentary, and it's very, very well done, look for it for the trailer 2040. It really shows that we have in our hands at the moment the means to make the world in 20 years from now really such a beautiful world. And I mean, it's quite amazing. You have to really watch that in all different levels of the economy, the environment, and mostly it's about changing the environment and stopping the global warming that we have been causing in the last 200 years. So the point is that few people are holding a vision of a better world. And we know there are literally big obstacles going to come in the way in order to create that better world. And we may think that it's in the hands of governments, and we may think it's in the hands of people in power. But what if it was in our hands as well? And it's been a mantra, I think, that has been given to us by many different thinkers over the past decades. We can be the change we want to see in the future. We can be the drop that accumulate drop after drop after drop to create a pond, to create a lake, to create rivers, and to create an ocean. But what if I don't make me the drop that is necessary for the ocean I want to see in the future? Am I aligned with the future I want to see? So when I think of what we can do now, what would be the step we can take now? First of all is to question, how do I connect to the world outside? And is my connection to the world outside a connection that is creating a better world? Or is my connection to the world outside a connection reacting to the state of the world today, affecting how I am right now? I have a very good friend, he's a member of this organization, told me something years ago that I've always really enjoyed in his own style. And he told me, that there are two types of people in the world. And one type of people, they wake up in the morning and they say, what's happening? So the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning, turn on their cell phone, open the news, turn on the TV, the radio, what's happening? They meet somebody, so what's happening today? Okay, now what's happening? So how do I feel? And there's the other type of people who wake up in the morning and the first thing they ask you is, okay, how do I feel today? Now, what's happening? And it sounds little, but it's a big shift in how I connect to the world. Do I switch on my inner world first and then open my eyes to the world outside, responding from what I have within, bringing it to the world? Or do I tend to just look at what's happening around me? Is the coffee ready? Is there hot water? Am I late? Are the kids awake? Did my wife already started the breakfast, or did my husband start the breakfast? Did he take the garbage out this morning? What is the conversation that I have in my mind when I wake up in the morning? And if this is a conversation that is connecting to the world outside without paying attention to how I connected to my inner world, well, definitely whatever happens on the outside, right from the time we wake up in the morning, start to affect my thinking, my feeling, my awareness, my attitude, my mood. And then people go to work and say, oh, I'm not in a good mood today. And people would say, not why are you not in a good mood? What's happening in you? They will always ask, so what happened? And people say, I'm not in a good mood, because this happened this morning or that happened this morning. So what do we connect to first? My inner world or what's happening outside? And the argument I would present, and again, it's based on my own personal journey, and we all are very, very different. I know Dimple mentioned that I have incredible stories. Yes, I'm a storyteller. I love journalism. I love telling stories. I used to make them up, but now I tell the truth. I love telling stories, and I do have crazy stories about my early days in CBC, but also my early days in spirituality. But along my journey, what I came to understand is that my vision of the world in which I live is quite deeply connected to my inner vision and my inner world. And I tended to be, before I became a yogi in a way, I tended to be someone who complains all the time. My eyes were extremely sharp to see defects, imperfections, wrongdoings, ugliness. Someone would wear a shirt, if their button is not attached properly, I would see it right away. If they have one hair pulling out, I'll see the hair pulling out right away. My eyes were very, very, very sharp in seeing anything that don't fit my image of perfection. And every time I would see something wrong, I said, saw it, you know, you're wrong here. Somebody will make a mistake in French. I was very specific. My French was not that better, by the way, but I would still point the finger to the mistake. I was pretty sharp eye. You know, my eyes were very, very sharp in saying everything wrong everywhere. I would complain all the time about my dad being wrong, the school system being wrong, the government's being wrong, everything was wrong, you know, until I think one day somebody really got so annoyed with the size of my ego that was higher than the Eiffel Tower or the Arc of Triumph in Paris, for those who know that. And I think this guy's ego is probably bigger than any big monuments in France. So they got a little bit annoyed at me. And one day they said, okay, Eric, everything is wrong. What about you? Are you okay? Are you the only one okay in this world? And everybody else is wrong? And it just came like a big slap in my face, thinking, yeah, well, I didn't think about it. Yeah, I must be all right. But everybody else is wrong. Of course, I would see beautiful thing and I would be very, very drawn to beauty. Of course, I would also be able to see the beauty. But most of the time I would see what was wrong with everything. So then when I came into spirituality, I was told that I really need to change, you know, my contact lens and bring new lens into my vision. So I start to see things differently. And today I know in technology, I mean, we have amazing lenses. You can have a microscope and see the virus and see what is within the virus. You see the DNA, the chromosomes, everything just through a specific lens that allows me to see the infinitesimally small particle. But I can use a telescope and see the stars and see beyond the stars. And if I use my reading glasses and I look in the sky, most likely I won't see anything. So depending what I'm wearing in terms of glasses or lenses, that will determine my vision. I think that is a physical law. Now, the spiritual law is exactly the same thing. Depending on what kind of lenses I'm going to use in my spiritual vision, that will determine what I see. And I can give you my experience has been really, really strong because I used to, you know, I found it very difficult, for example, to apply this very universal principle, then in English, thou shalt love your neighbor, or, you know, you should love everybody, basically, or you should love your neighbor, you should love others. Great, great concept, universal, Christians, Buddhists, Jewish, Muslims, everybody agrees that would be a good idea. You should love other people. Well, how do you do that? How do you love somebody you really basically hate? Or how do you love somebody that really hurt you? How do you love somebody that you can't stand? I mean, just seeing them gives you pimples and your hair goes funny and then you have stomach problem just by seeing them. And I know it's happened. Well, this is, you know, you were asking, how do we start? Well, we started thinking about it. Like, if I react to the way another person is, and in reacting, my reaction is, I really don't like this person. Am I at the time the drop in the pond, in the lake, in the rivers, and in the ocean that will bring about a world where there's harmony, where there's peace, when there's respect, when there's love? So how can I, you know, how can I hope for or expect a world where people are more loving and caring and respectful if I can't even negotiate or deal with my own personal feeling towards another person? And when I think of how sometimes we may dislike someone, if we are honest and ask ourselves, why do I dislike that person? Well, she borrowed a pencil and she didn't give it back to me. Oh, okay. Well, big deal. I mean, that's it? Okay, what else? Well, she's always late. Okay, she's always late. What else? I don't know. I just don't like her, you know? Okay. Did she kill somebody? Is she, you know, a serial killer somewhere in your city? Is she doing really terrible stuff? No. Why do we not like somebody? Usually, it's for quite little things. Of course, you might have somebody around you that has been really hurting you big time in very nasty, mean, vicious ways. That's okay. That's another story. We'll do another Zoom on that. But on average, when we don't quite like someone, usually it's not for big thing. It's just their personality doesn't resonate with my own personality. So the work personally I've tried and I've experimented with, and that I felt very happy to share, because I've been really liberated from a lot of relationships that were not really, fulfilling, I would say, in my way, in my sense. Well, I've been trying to change my vision on the other person. And when I don't like someone, I'm wearing the glasses, I don't like that person. And those glasses or those lenses see everything wrong in the person. So my suggestion would be, as a very practical thing we can do in spirituality, is to change those glasses and wear the glasses, I really like that person. And I know in the beginning it sounds like really, well, this is not true, this is not honest. How can you say you like that person when you know you don't? Well, I'm in the movement, I'm in the process, I'm on a journey for personal transformation. Then I accept I'm going to change my way of seeing other people, regardless of how they are. And let me try new glasses, see what happens. And so I started to practice with this vision, telling myself, that person, I really like her, or I really like him. And yes, the first time I said that, there was a kind of, it's like you're playing violin and you miss your note, and then it sounds a little bit like it's hurting your ears. So the first time I said to, about someone, oh, I really like that person. Yeah, it didn't sound right, but I just kept repeating it. I really like that person. So let me find what the quality is. So when I would see the person, I would just start to project one new thought. Well, she's courageous. She has a lot of courage in her life because she went through a lot of things and she always maintained courage and she's still making a lot of effort. Okay, that's a positive step. Second quality, third quality. And I would just repeat these things in my head again and again, again and again. Every time I would meet the person or when I would think of the person. And I'm talking about people I would meet almost on a daily basis, most of the time at work or in my surroundings here. And it was an exercise. It took a little bit of time, but what I started to feel was that when I started to say, I really like that person, suddenly it was a reality. It was not anymore a projection or practice. I was really actually seeing things in the person that I really quite actually started to appreciate. And plus using the philosophy telling me, why don't you accept people who are different? It's okay to accept differences. And the harmony is not coming by making everybody the same. Harmony comes by being able to harmonize with differences. I was filming the other day two twin sisters. They're beautiful women in their, I think, early 50s. Really similar. I mean, if they didn't wear different robe, different dress, I would have had a really hard time to know which one was who. Both amazing, brilliant women. And they were playing, one was playing the flute, I don't know how to say in English, the flute traversière, and then the other one was the guitar. And they were playing classical music and were recording it in the context of the story. And I was really appreciating the fact that they look the same. And when I talked to them, I quickly understood they are very different in their personalities and they play two different instruments, but they're real twins. So when we did the interview, they were both sitting next to each other. And one was starting a sentence, the other one was finishing the sentence. And they were like, talking like that. They were like one voice with two mouths, which was quite interesting. But harmony between those two sisters was so beautiful to watch. And in a way, they were the same, but on the other way, they were so different. And to me, harmonizing with other people is harmonizing our qualities, our specialties, our talents, not expecting the talents and specialties of the other to be the same as mine, but finding a way to create harmony between those differences. And I really find today that, I don't have anyone in my heart. I can say really honestly, there's no one today in my heart that triggers something negative. No one, not even leaders in the world that may not live too far from Canada. And I just feel, okay, you know, everyone is so different. Let me create positive feelings, harmonizing with whatever character it is. So I don't generate hate. I don't generate judgment. I don't generate reproach or grudges or, you know, bitter feelings or negativity in any way. And I know it's not easy at all. I mean, this is like yoga sometimes is, you know, doing some physical exercise. This is like massive contortion of the mind, twisting it around completely to think the opposite way that it would normally think. But what it is based on is just the lenses of my vision, changing the way I see people. And if we expand, the principle to me works the same way with the way we see the world. And how I see the world, well, could be based on my own inner expectations and feelings and reality. And then what? Is this the reality, or is it a perception of the world based on my own limited reality? And I'm going to suggest a strong statement and then help you to cope with it. We see the world today. It's going a little bit in different ways, and you know, some terrible things are happening everywhere. Beautiful things are also happening everywhere. In a philosophical way, what we teach in the Brahma Kumaris, and I know it's a challenging thought, is that actually the world, as it goes every second, is absolutely perfect. Yeah, the world is absolutely perfect, but not perfect in a way that, you know, birds are sweet and they always, you know, come and sing me beautiful tunes and nobody is hurting each other. Not that kind of perfection. But the world is exactly perfect in a way that there's no mistake in the way the structure of the world works. So for me, when I use that philosophy, I'm questioning, okay, what is this kind of lens that I'm asked to look through? And maybe an illustration would be, you know, if you were to come into an apartment, let's say you're visiting a place somewhere, you walk into an apartment and what you see is a huge mess. Dirt on the floor, rats going around, cockroaches on the walls, smell that is terrible. And what else? Can I make it worse? You know, yeah, well, the people living in there maybe not smelling very good and having a really bad hair day. And you walk in and you say, oh my goodness, what's happening here? And then you would say, well, the apartment is bad. I would say the apartment is perfect, because the apartment is exactly how those who have been living in it have made it into. The apartment is just responding to the situations in a very logical way. You leave dirt, rats will come. Now, change the way people live in there, bring other tenants probably. July 1st in Montreal, that's what we do. We change tenants everywhere. So change the tenants on July 1st, hopefully with different personalities, and then see what happened to the apartment. The same apartment, within just a few weeks, will have no more rats, no more cockroaches, paint will change, smell will change, look will change completely. Why? You just changed the tenants. Now, the world as we live in today is the apartment of humanity, and it's reflecting the qualities of the people who are living in it. And there's some beautiful things happening, but there are also an extreme amount of negative things happening. You know, we want the world to be a better place, but if you look around, you see some people, you know, they're in the car, they throw things through the windows. Right across from where I am now, they have a building, they repainted it beautifully, like they do almost every year. 2 days later, graffitis everywhere, windows being smashed, damaged. Who is doing this? Why people are acting like this? We just went through this crisis with, you know, George Floyd and being killed by a policeman. Why things happen like that? At the core of the behavior of every human being, there is a crisis of spiritual values. And why we're having a spiritual crisis because there's a lack of, education, sustenance, training. We're not told from the beginning that there are other lenses we can use to see the world. And the world is not what it shows, but the world is what I project into it, because I'm the seed who wants to be the future. So when I say the world is perfect, what we're looking at actually is that the world is the mirror of how we live in the world. And if I want to change the world, well, I'm not telling anything new again today, but if I want to change the world, I need to change myself. And if I start to change the vision I have of myself, who am I in this world? I might start to look at the world in a different scenario. Before watching the documentary 2040, I was not pessimistic, but I was sometimes doubting the will of the human spirit to fix the mess that we created on Earth. And I know there's some, I'm not sure how to call it. So in English, it's called the group of people who feel that everything is collapsology, maybe something like that. Collapse something, the collapse theory. It's a pretty drastic theory that they say we went past the point of no return. That doesn't matter if you stop all the cars in the world today, that's too late. And to be honest, sometimes I was wondering, well, what if they're right? I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty bad how we damage the world. And when I watched 2040, I thought, oh, okay, this is regenerating a little bit more hope in myself, because they explain clearly that yes, even if we stop all the cars in the world, it will not fix. If we stop creating, this dioxide carbon, it's not going to fix the world. We need to find a way to go far beyond that and absorb the bad things we sent in the air, to absorb it even more. And they show different ways to do it, which are being experimented right now all across the world. And they show the example of Bangladesh, where you would not expect the solution to come from a country like Bangladesh, but they are creating very innovative means of transformation. So this example, one I'm not promoting, I didn't make that documentary and I don't have any share in it, but why I'm talking about it is because it created an additional lens just for me just yesterday. And I saw now through that lens, I'm seeing the future differently. And I want to be part of that future. So if I have a conflict with someone, what will be my vision? Well, I never got along with that person. It's going to be like that until we die. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Why don't we change our vision? I know one day we'll do it. We'll make it right. And I'm sure one day I'll have the right connection with that person. That's it. At least let's change the way we think. So projecting different visions needs, a certain assertion of my own spiritual values. And that's why I find that the spiritual journey that we are invited to walk upon is telling us, why do I not change the way I think? And I know it's a very basic, fundamental aspect of meditation. I am what I think, but we're not practicing it. And I'll finish maybe before, I know there may be a few questions, or I'm totally lost in time, plus there's a time differences, so I don't know what to think. But a last example that I want to share with you is that I'm a great passionate about tennis, and I find this is a very beautiful sport, and it helps me to keep a balance between what we do in meditation, which is a lot of effort sometimes in our spiritual journey, a lot of pleasure too, of course. What I do at work with very, very full-time job, every week. And I found in a tennis court, you can really, your mind goes into another space. And I have an excellent teacher. And I told him that very soon I want to invite him at the center, and we're going to talk together, because what he teaches me on this very simple concept of tennis is such a very interesting learning tool that I find I should really apply it in my spirituality. And I'm teaching it, but I think I'm not doing it sometimes. And to give you an example, recently I'm complaining to him that my right arm is my forehand is often, hitting the net. And he says, so what do you think when it hits the net? I said, well, I'm not having a positive thought usually. It's always a little, gee, why? And then again, and you get frustrated with yourself. And he says, oh, that's your problem. I said, no, my problem is that the ball goes into the net. I said, well, why it goes in the net? I said, well, I must do something wrong. And he says, no, you're thinking something wrong. I said, what? He says, what are you seeing before hitting the ball? Well, I don't see anything. I'm just thinking, put your figure like this, put your arm, move. I says, this doesn't mean anything. Why are you technical? Just visualize the ball doing a beautiful arch and going exactly where you want. That's it. And I said, well, I'm sure my knees, what about my angle? That's something, tell me. No. So we started again the exercise. I'm just visualizing, and that's the exercise I'm doing even this morning and yesterday, just practicing visualizing the ball going the right way. And honestly, I went from 50% of success over the net to 80% just by changing my thoughts. And I realized, wow, I should be really, applying that in my philosophy, because it's just a question of faith in the self. If I change the way I think, don't worry about other things. How is this relationship going to work? Don't worry about it. Do I need to call a psychologist? Do I need to have a meeting? Do I need to tell her this or tell him that? Forget about it. Let's visualize first the world, like the title is See the World in a Different Way. Well, let's start to see the relationship is working and I have harmony with this person. It's fine. Where I love that person and I think that person is going to love me. And we're going to say in a few years, you remember, we used to hate each other and now we're best friends. Why not? Okay, maybe not best friends, but at least have a decent relationship. So I'm not producing toxic elements in the space, in the world that other people catch and use in their relationships as well. And if people see us being happy and loving towards other people, we're inspiring other people to be happy and loving. If we're fighting with others, we're just showing others the example of how to fight with others. So seeing the world in a different way and what to do to start, I think it starts in the morning. Okay, how do I feel? Let me work on that. Then what's happening in the world? And let me make a difference in the world. So best luck to you. It works within a week. Approximately, it would take about a week if we're, good at it. So I don't know what time it is, and if you want to have a few questions, or I can talk like that until midnight if you want. But is there any questions that maybe we want to look at?
We enjoy hearing you. We enjoy hearing your stories and everything that you share, because in the stories is where we share a part of ourselves and we see a reflection of ourselves. So I'm not sure, are you able to hear me, brother?
Yes, very well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you could hear me. I've got two screens, so I'm kind of going back and forth between the both.
Have two screens, but don't scream.
No, the audio is very calm here. So I really like the fact that, as you mentioned, that we don't live in one reality. We live in two realities. One, what is happening inside of us, and one, of course, what is happening outside. And outside is the result of what is happening within me. So I guess the question here is that how does one realize that what needs to be changed within?
Well, the practice in Raja Yoga is quite wonderful, because for me, it gave me two pair of glasses that I really love a lot. You know Elton John? You know Elton John, the singer? He's very well known for fancy, crazy pair of glasses. So Raja Yoga gives you two pair of glasses, or contact lens, as you want. And now we offer laser surgery as well, if you prefer. But there are two different things that we learn to see. The first thing is to see the self as a soul. And we call it soul conscious vision. And this is a big revolution, because I don't know those who are joining us today, if some are very new to Raja Yoga, some have been maybe practicing Raja Yoga for a while. But if you're new to Raja Yoga, there's one element that you'll find is totally unique in this spiritual practice. And it's the one that, again, goes with this title of the program, How to See the World in a Different Way. We tend to look at it completely the opposite way when we think of the self. And for me, the biggest revolution in my existence in this life has been the day when I came to the Raj Yoga Center and it told me, you know, you don't have a soul. I said, beg your pardon? Yeah, I do have a soul. I think it's somewhere in there. And then I talked to it and I think I have maybe even a beautiful soul. They know you don't have a soul. Oh yeah, so what do I have there? A little mouse or something? Or they know you have a body and you are a soul in the body. And I said, okay, what do you mean? And to me, it was like suddenly a big, what they call eye opener, certainly, because it's opening what they call the third eye. But it's to reverse the way we think. And very often we've been thinking of being a human being, you know, on earth, having a spiritual experience.
Mhm.
And we say, no, we have to do it the other way. We're a spiritual being going through a human life, which is really not the same thing at all. And the fundamental practice of Raj Yoga is to sit in meditation. And I know there was a commentary a bit before the program. We sit in silence and we just create this very simple thought, I am a soul. And we try to awaken the feeling right here in the center of the forehead that there's an energy, a living energy, but that living energy is who I am. I am this living energy. And that living energy is what we call the soul. That living energy, which we believe is eternal, has never been created and will never be destroyed. An energy that doesn't belong to the physical world. And that's the hard thing to understand. And not only to understand, but to even experience. Body is made of matter. So body responds to beginning, middle, and end in terms of time, age. Bodies are small, they grow old, and then they disappear. Soul doesn't age. There's no age. We say sometimes, oh, you're an old soul. Yes and no, in a way that, you know, souls don't get old. The soul comes into the body. And the problem we have at the moment is that we identify with the body and we say, I am Canadian, I am a man, I am a woman, I'm dentist, I'm journalist. But actually that I is not the true I, is the description of the body or the role that we're playing through the body. And so the first lens we change in Raj Yoga is creating that awareness of the soul, soul consciousness. And it's beautiful when we start to think in meditation, I'm a soul, I'm a being of light, I'm an eternal being, and my original qualities are peace, purity, love, harmony, happiness. This is my true self.
Mhm.
And now I'm in the body and I'm under stress. Okay, let's try to work on that. And the second lens, which actually is quite fascinating, is suddenly to think, well, what about a different soul than mine, which we call the Supreme Soul? And I know everyone in the world is confronted one day or another to experience God, experience the Supreme Source of life, however we want to call it, the Supreme, the Divine. And we cannot access that experience because we think of ourselves and we see ourselves as human being on earth and God as big thing beyond, without name, without shape. We don't know exactly what it is.
Mhm.
But when I see myself with the glasses or the lens of the soul, I use the other lens, which is the lens of the Supreme Soul. So we call it sometimes soul consciousness and God consciousness. And suddenly, and I know for me, when I came into Raj Yoga, honestly, I hated God, basically. I said, if there's a God, I already hate him because I thought he killed my mother. And to me, I cannot love God if he killed my mom. And I was raised as a Catholic. And when my mom died, I was 14 years old. And she died of, disease. There was a strike in the nurses here in Montreal. There was some kind of thing, then she died, she shouldn't be dying. And then when the priest told me, well, God, call your mom. And I said, well, tell God he's a serial killer because we don't do that. And I was really, really, really upset. And I was a good little Catholic boy for many years. And I hated God for many years in my life. Then I felt anyone who would talk to me about God, I would say, nice meeting you, bye-bye. I don't want ever to connect with you again. You're probably a lunatic if you believe in God. And when I came to Raj Yoga and they pronounced the word God, I think they barely pronounced it. They probably felt that this guy, if I said the word God, he's running out through the door in a minute and he's never coming back. And that's what happened in my head when the teacher told me, we believe that there's a soul called God. And I felt in my head, I said, no, Raj Yoga was so nice. Why do you need God in Raj Yoga? I mean, just soul consciousness is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then she must have felt it, and then and I said in my head, okay, I'm just letting her finish the class and I'm never coming back again. But when I sat in the meditation at the end, she played that commentary, and it was about what we hear in Raj Yoga. I'm a soul, I'm a being of light. And suddenly I see this light in front of me. And that light is just energy of love. It's just energy of beauty, happiness, truth, purity. And for a moment, I just totally forgot about everything I've learned about God previously. This big guy with a long beard checking my name in his Google Doc, something, in his computer now. And I realized, okay, let's open to God being totally different. God is not a human projection of who we are. God is just energy. It's just vibration. It's just frequency. It's just pure life energy that is vibrating. An amazing frequency of love that I've been searching for, because I, the soul, being stressed in my body, not knowing who I am, just thinking I'm French, I have to dress like this and I have to smell like that and I have to eat my baguette and drink my wine. No, go beyond that. Forget your wine, forget your baguette, forget your everything. You're just a being of light. And the source, the origin of that light, connects with the supreme light, which is the reference, which is the only soul that has remained and remains for eternity. Totally pure, totally perfect, totally beaming like a sun. And when I experienced that in meditation, and I felt like I was almost I was almost scared of going into that light, because I thought, oh, I'm breaking my principle of hating God. I said, forget about it, go for it. This is the sky opens, just go for it, and I surrendered. And I felt suddenly that love, and I thought, this is very weird. Normally for me, love means a very specific human being with specific shape, specific height, specific hair. Right. That was my definition of I love you. And suddenly there's nobody, like technically there's no body, but there's energy. And I realized that energy is love.
So what did that do for you? How did that shift you? And how did that change? What did that change within you?
Well,
experiencing that.
Well, it's like you're born. We call it a spiritual birth. And it's like a new birth in a way that you have to relearn everything through this lens. And suddenly I realized, and through the teachings, of course, that to recreate the state of soul consciousness is not easy. I have to overcome all the past habits, tendencies, personality traits, to see myself as a man, as a young man. At the time I was in my 20s, and I was very proud of my muscles and my hair and my everything, and I had to let go a little bit of that to think, you're other thing than that, Eric. You're not just flesh and hair and eyes and everything. You're a soul. And realizing that I'm a soul, thinking that what I'm looking for in my relationship with human beings, trying to fix the world the way I want the world to be, is going completely the opposite of what might be much more efficient. Let go of everything. Rethink of yourself as a soul. See yourself as a soul. Realize that in the soul, there are good tendencies and bad tendencies. My anger, my judgment, my intolerance, my hatred, my negative forces in me, that was my true enemy. That was my real virus. I have to get rid of it. And no one can do it for me. No government, no parents, no teachers, no one can remove my own defects. I have to do it myself. And this is a heroic journey. All right.
And very courageous.
Very courageous journey. Yeah. And then you have friends. I mean, yes, you have many yogis saying, yeah, come on, I've been here for 2 years. Don't worry, you'll be beaten up a little bit, but it's okay. You're good. You're young. You can make it. And on the other hand, there was this pull to dive into the research of what would be the supreme being that is suddenly accessible just here at my place in silence, connecting to this ocean of light, ocean of love, ocean of peace, and suddenly having experiences. And to be honest, I mean, I had many, many experiences where I felt sometimes my heart was going to explode. And, you know, I was always joking, telling people, I found the cheapest movie in the world, you know, like no need for TV, nothing. You sat in front of your wall, stare at your wall, thank God, okay, I'm ready. And you'll see light and you feel love and you're just watching your wall and you're the most happy person in the world. And people say, yeah, just watching your wall. I say, yeah, yogis are just staring at the wall. There's nothing. You don't need anything. You can use a candle, but there's need for nothing. You just connect internally. And that connection brought the sense of relationship. There was a connection, that there was a relationship, that this energy becomes my friend, becomes my guide, becomes my teacher. Today, sometimes people say, well, you're single and, you know, you should be lonely. I said, no, I'm in an old couple relationship. I've been 36 years with God. I've asked for divorce many times, but he always refused. And he didn't give up on me. So
he always makes it happen. He always finds a way back to you.
He's always trying to hold on to me. And he knows if he let me go, I'm in big trouble. Right. So I'm happy to know that this, so what happened to me was just a new reference, you know, that experience of God tells me how I can be. If I have a good teacher in tennis and I watch him doing amazing things every day, it would be normal for me to want to be like him. So if I meditate and I see that and I feel that frequency of love, of peace, of happiness every day, yeah, when I'm told, Eric, you should be loving, yeah, okay, I know. I feel it every day, so I know it's possible.
You know, it's beautiful. We had actually a question from one of our participants that how do you begin that change? And this is a beautiful example that when you start taking the step and start connecting to yourself, then automatically as the deeper you go, the more you start realizing the things that have been holding you back, that have been either self-sabotaging or blocking your success, or on the contrary, the very things that have actually brought you closer to that. So another question that comes from this is that, you know, when you experienced yourself, when you dive deeper into your journey, how did that reflect in your professional life? I mean, we all live in the world where we must carry on our personal, professional and social duties. So how does one carries that part that is the seed, as you said, in everything that they do, and how were you able to accomplish that in your media, which is a very vast and.
I worked in a newsroom for many years. I worked in the media world is not typically the one we think of when we say think of a positive space and people thinking positive and projecting positive ideas. You don't think of a media.
The negative, yes.
It's all about a lot of negative stuff. And I was even asked many years ago to start a new program based on investigative reporting. I know in CBC English there is the Fifth Estate, and it looks basically at the depth of the wrongdoings of people. And so I started a program called Investigative Journalism. And it was really intense. You know, we got life-threatening situation. There was dealing with mafia, with killers. It was pretty intense and not a very necessarily positive environment. But, you know, for me, my whole life has always been, my professional life and my spiritual life, I'm lucky for that, have always been going like a mirror of one another. I started Raj Yoga almost at the same time as I started in Radio-Canada. I started in spirituality as a dummy, you know, like a stupid yogi who doesn't understand nothing about spirituality. I was an anti-spiritual person, smoking, drinking, partying all the time. To me, life was everything but meditating and being good. And then I came to journalism after studying veterinary in school. So I knew nothing about journalism. I was absolutely the worst person to hire at the time at CBC, but they were very desperate in the West, in Edmonton at the time. But I've learned everything in both fields. In Raj Yoga, I've learned everything about spirituality and transformation of myself, everything. At CBC, it was an amazing school. I've learned, then I went to take some training. I learned incredible things, but I've always been aware that both were the mirror of each other. And for me to preach peace and harmony and love in a meditation center, okay, fine, burn your little incense sticks, say Om a few times, tell everybody to be peaceful. Okay, that's fine. Go to work now and do it. And that's become the laboratory. And I find that working on a daily basis in a situation that sometimes provoke a lot of reaction was my best way to see if I can be real. And I'm glad. I tried to actually get away from my work. And when I met the head of the Brahma Kumaris in India, I told her, oh, I'd like to come and live here in India and stay here with you and then meditate all day. And she looked at me like, poor little lunatic, another dummy again. And she says, no, go back to Montreal. You need to work full time. And she insisted full time. And then another great yogi told me one day, Eric, your conscience at work should be the same as your conscience when you are at the center. And to me, it was very, amazing because I knew I was practicing it, but not as strongly. And I started to realize that when I go to work, I should change my thinking again. I'm not going to work. I'm going to experiment my spiritual life in a work environment. That's it. I'm not going to work. I'm going to practice my spirituality and serve. I'm going to serve people. So my approach at work has always been, am I putting the same principles at the core of my work than I'm doing when I'm teaching meditation? So I changed. When we're told that at work, you have to respect everyone. And I thought, yeah, I have to love everyone. That's very different. You don't tell that to your coworkers, I love you. I know, don't say that to your coworkers. But I did find ways to tell them sometimes. I have so many stories I can tell of how it worked at my workforce. But yeah, I found that I can bring those spiritual values in meetings with humor sometimes, but sometimes with just spiritual principles. Just being able to remind people, don't you think we would be doing much better if we were to be a little bit more? And yeah, Eric, you're always the Zen one, but I made the meetings more Zen sometimes. I practice at work encouraging people, reinforcing their qualities, not pointing out their defects. I reinforce at work my ability to see people and to feel, I like that person, I like that person. When deep inside, I was like, I hate this person. She really annoys me, but I have to work with her all the time.
Right.
It was, for me, there are three engines in our process. In French, they rhyme beautifully. In English, I don't know. I don't think so. One is the understanding. I'll try to make it rhyme. Understanding, realizing, and experiencing. See, it can rhyme in English too. In French, it's more about connaissance, conscience, expérience. Very sweet words. And what it says is basically, one aspect is about the understanding. And that comes with study. I have to learn from other people who have done the job and help me to figure out what I don't understand. If you watch a film in Japanese and you don't speak Japanese, what's going to do? Nothing. But if you have subtitles, that helps a lot. And you understand the story. So understanding was for me a big learning curve, just learning. But the understanding awakens the awareness. Then we become aware, we become conscious. We become, I'm aware. When you put your hand in a red stove at some time, you hurt yourself. Well, the next time you see this red thing, you say, oh, no, I can hurt myself. Well, you're aware. But the third element is the experience. It's like if you come in a room and it smells very nice. Oh, it smells good. It smells like great masala. This is nice curry, and you start to water your mouth. This is good.
Your senses are activated.
Your senses are activated. It's pakoras. You can recognize the smell of pakoras. Nice. I like pakoras. Or samosa. They don't smell the same thing. And what if you just get out of the house and that's it? And people say, so did you have a good lunch? Well, I don't know. I didn't eat. Oh, you just smell. So you have the awareness. You knew there was pakoras in the room, but you didn't eat them. And a lot of people have awareness, but they don't have experience. And the process of transformation requires the three. I need to understand. I need to create more than understanding, because a lot of people know a lot of things, but they
Right.
don't have awareness.
Right.
Awareness is more like the wisdom. It becomes a sixth sense, which is very different. And then I have to experience. And sometimes I create knowledge to have awareness to create an experience.
Mhm.
And yogis, if they sit in silence, from time to time, they have a blessing, they have a gift. They receive an experience. And then we go the other way. You say, oh, I have an experience. Okay, don't sit on your experience. If you just say, yeah, I have an experience, okay, congratulations. And they stop there. Oh, I had a wonderful experience. Yeah. And then for the experience has to make me aware. And that awareness has to bring me understanding. Why am I getting an experience? I need to get the understanding. And most of the time, we don't do those three things. We either have knowledge, we don't go through the experience, or we have an experience and we don't go back to what am I supposed to understand from that experience.
And that's why one gets stuck within the technicality of the
Yeah.
therapy process.
They just become, theoretical yogis. A lot of, they are expert in the manual of yoga. They can quote the verses of the yoga concepts. And when comes the time to reveal through our own life, that's where we really see how much we've really gone through the process. Our aim in Raj Yoga is not just to have good experiences, is to become the image of that experience. So I'm not just saying, oh, I had such a feeling of love for the world. And then you turn around and say, what are you doing here? Okay, you know, hello, connect the dots, you know.
Right.
Yeah, you had a great experience of love for the world. Turn around, I love you. That will match much better. But some don't have that connection. And for me, same. I've been for many years dealing with this dichotomy where I knew, I understood the knowledge. I created the awareness, sometimes the experience, but it didn't become my reality. And it takes years, you know, and for strange reason, one day I was quite surprised because I thought I was working on a specific defect of my personality. And then on working on that defect, I didn't realize that other qualities started to emerge in my personality. And one day somebody told me, you're very patient. And I said, me patient? I thought I was not patient. I never noticed how I became patient. And one day I had to admit, I said, yeah, I guess I am patient. And the patience grew on me without me knowing it. It's like if you take some vitamins because you want to be able to play tennis longer, it's fine. But you don't realize that by having all these vitamins, not only you play tennis longer, but actually your digestion is better. This is happening. Your hair grows longer. I don't know.
So your symptoms starts to dissipate when you start working at the root cause, which is you, the seed, going deeper in and increasing your charge by getting whatever it is that your soul needs.
Yeah, there's a work to be done. And, you know, we always find that if the foundation in a building is not strong, little obstacle will be enough to make your whole building collapse. I've seen people, honestly, in my journey, having great theories and talking about great things in spirituality and trying to be super yogis. And they were super yogis at the time. A little conflict, and suddenly they stopped their efforts. And for me, I just find that, you know, we're lucky when we can have a bit of time, learn what is the foundation of my spirituality? What are the core values that I need to pay attention to? In my personal experience, it was my confrontation with my own ego. Everybody knew I had ego except myself. The ego I had was telling me simple things. You're right. You know better. You're smart. They're not. You're French. They're not. You know, sometimes it will be strange sentences, and the ego doesn't reveal itself. Anger reveals itself. You know when you're angry. But have you ever heard somebody saying, oh, I had such an ego crisis yesterday? No. But people would say sometimes, oh, I was so mad yesterday. I got so angry. Or other people would say, oh, I felt so lazy yesterday. Oh, I was so impatient. But you rarely hear someone saying, I had such an ego problem yesterday. And the reality is that underneath the anger and the laziness and the attachment and everything you want, underneath, Why there's anger and everything? Because of ego. And until we confront that ego, I think the foundation is not going to last. And so we do things, but we don't have the, we haven't done the foundation. And the foundation is to remove that I and my and mine and that arrogance of who I am, to think, no, I'm a soul. Let me detach myself from a lot of things so that I can reveal values and qualities.
So from, I mean, this was very, very important. I think that was the crux what you just shared, that in order to, because a lot of people ask, and even today, this question was asked again and again, that yes, we know the change needs to be created. Yes, that there's duality within. How do I align myself and how do I begin that change? And just what you shared, and please do correct me, that when I start noticing my own anger, my own start watching my thoughts, watching my actions, and how it makes me feel, is when I can start connecting to the ego part of me, and how and start recognizing that whether it's coming from a place of love or a place of ego.
Right.
So what are some of the other, we have about 5 more minutes, maybe if you can touch on that, because I'm sure we have a lot of the ones who are watching, they have this question that how do we recognize the ego coming into our actions?
Well, I mean, this is a very fundamental topic. It's a very deep one. Is for me what I would consider to be the core topic of our spiritual journey. And if we want to make big progress in life, which will translate into happiness a lot, not like when I'm in front of someone, but when I'm alone at home, having the awareness how much happy I am, having an increase in my ability to love a lot of people, having no conflicts in my heart, to get to that big jump in my spiritual journey, the core issue is my ego. Ego is defined as being attached to a false identity. Ego is where I project a reality to be my identity. A very, very simple example, and I went through it. For example, one day I bought a beautiful car. I won't name it, but it's a very nice car. And I thought, you know, it's not like so much luxurious car, but it was a good car, you know, with good image. Could be BMW if you have Volvo, Audi, or whatever. And I thought that would be okay. You know, I just thought I'm buying this car because it's the most safe car, and I'm driving a lot in the snow, and I have passengers, so I want to have a safe car and a good car, so it lasts very long. I thought I was doing a good spiritual thing. But then I noticed, for example, that the first days when I started driving that car, I changed, you know, and I saw myself coming out of this brand new car, which had a very unique color, which is pretty flashy, but nice, not like a sport car, but a nice luxurious car. And I saw myself coming out of that car, opening the door in a certain way, and just slightly noticing anybody's watching. And I became, okay, it was a Volvo. So I became Volvo conscious for quite a while. I mean, I felt I was a different person in that car. And people were looking at me differently. You know, in a red light, I would see people, oh, and they would turn and they would look at the car and, wow, nice car. Many people would say, nice car. And I feel, yeah. And I felt, I am nice. Not my car, I am nice. I'm more, that's ego. I'm becoming attached to an identity. I own this car, I'm better. I have a big house. I come out of this house in the morning, look at me, I'm the king. I'm exaggerating. If somebody goes to the hair salon, which now is a big thing people want to go back to, and you spent, I don't know, $100 or $200 in a fancy thing, when you come out of the hair salon, tell me you're not looking a little bit in some glasses around or some front store windows and then saying, nice, nice. And then when you meet somebody and they say, wow, what a nice, are you fine, you know?
Right.
I'm joking. This is ego. And this ego is a little thing, but it grows on us. And before I know, it creates desires. It creates attachment to that identity. So I need to feed that identity. And when that identity is not nurtured, when I don't have enough toxic food to consolidate this identity, I get angry. I want my identity to be respected. I'm getting angry. I get attached to people who can provide me with long-term sustenance for that wrong identity. If I find somebody who is always praising me, I get attached to that person. Yeah, always boosting my ego. Nice, I like it. Greed will come to increase that that ego. So ego is where we lost the image of the self as one self that has nothing but is everything, possesses nothing but gains everything. It's totally the other way, looking at the world in a different way.
Absolutely.
Ego has to be remembered as, well, he goes. Get out. He goes.
I like that.
He goes.
I like
Okay.
He
Let
goes.
him go. Let him go. Don't hold on to your ego. Let him go. Ego, yeah, ego. I don't have ego. He goes all the time.
Right. So this is what we love. I admire how you can talk about such a profound, serious topic in a very light manner and just bring that awareness to it. So what is your vision of the new world? Like you said, in 20 years, we create our world, and how we choose to think, how we choose to act and feel is our own creation, internally first and then outward second. So what is your vision? And if you can kindly maybe share your vision and guide us through that, so we can all have that seed planted somewhere in our minds and nourish it and have it grow and see it, make it our reality.
As an answer or as a meditation commentary?
But well, we can do both, a 2-in-1. How's that?
No.
So you can
well, as you want.
through.
You tell me when you want to switch on meditation. Otherwise, I can answer that in 2 minutes if you want.
Yes, please.
And then we'll see how we integrate. Yeah.
Sounds good.
An image that comes to mind, and this is what I'm going to actually film tonight. I'm going to film, 100, 200 women who are going to bring their babies, their mothers, they're called mothers of at the front line. And they want to demonstrate, to show how we should pay attention to the environment. And they're going to remain in silence, and they're going to hold on a candle in the night. And to me, I think of me to be the candle that is needed to light up the world. But I won't lit up the world by myself. I can't do that alone, of course. But I'm happy to be a candle in the ocean of candles. And so the vision for me is that when there is darkness, either if you look at it globally for the whole world, or if there is darkness in my own world, if I lose somebody I love, or if things are not right, or if I'm told I have a fatal, terminal disease. Well, let me see the darkness, fine, recognize there is darkness. Let me lit a little Deepak, a little light, and then inspire other people to lit their lights. And imagine this darkness with suddenly those little lights coming up everywhere. What people would say. They would not say it's dark anymore. They would say, wow, it's beautiful. And I really believe that if many of us transform our lives and make our lives like a little light in the dark, what people would say when they see us is not a bunch of lunatics yogis, but they would say, wow, beautiful. How did you do this? And then you say, yeah, I have a good teacher, and look, I have many friends, so join. So I believe that in the world as we go through today, we've been getting a warning, a very, very, very powerful warning from time, from matter, from the planet, from humanity. I think the survival of that humanity is questionable at the moment. I personally believe that what is negative has to collapse by itself. I think that certain rules will find themselves to be so negative that they will have to collapse. But I believe that at the same time, the emergence of new realities, new thinking is absolutely possible. And I know that many yogis have been meditating in the dark, and every time they put their little light up, there's a big breeze or there's a tornado and all the lights are off in a second. Oops, what happened? And they start again. They say, wait, let's start again, let's start again, let's start again. And now what I see is that there are millions of people in the world who got it. They have the awareness and they are creating their experience and they're visible. Look at night, no media can be negative, but on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, there are thousands of incredibly inspiring stories that shows us how people in the world today are putting things the other way around. They're growing vegetables on the wall of buildings downtown the city. They're transforming, things into electrical means. So I think it's possible, but there will be old things having to disappear, and that's going to cause a lot of distress and chaos. But at the same time, there will be emergence of new realities, new awarenesses. And I think the spiritual journey will be revealed through yogis. I think people, and I say yogis, it includes, people with deep faith in their own ways that connect to a source of beauty through which they become that beauty. Whoever becomes beauty through their own connection deserve the title of being yogis. Yogi means connection.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And perhaps maybe exactly what you just shared, you can guide us through it with a meditation.
Sure. So we're going to position ourselves in a state of silence. And if you just realign your body so that you give a signal to the body, and I'll do it myself. So you tell your body, come on body, I need you for the next 10 minutes. Don't drop me dead here and don't fall asleep. And don't give power to your aches and joints and pains. And for me, it means don't think of the 39 degrees that it must be right here at the moment. Let's go beyond this, but let's tell the body by breathing very deeply and profoundly. Let's take a deep breath and just feel how through the breathing we're just washing the body. Making the body a channel for the wind. The body becomes alive with the air. And bringing air into the body activates life in the cells, in the blood, in the brain. And I'm connecting with the elements, I'm connecting with nature, I'm connecting with life, even on a physical level. And as I do so, it's as if my body gives me permission to just go, to travel in another space, in a space which is not physical, but a space of silence, the space of my mind. And my thoughts are happening, they're becoming very slow. And I realize that I can slow down the rhythm of my thoughts. I can think very, very slowly. So my thoughts have absolutely no tension whatsoever. They become like birds, able to fly. Every thought I create, I visualize a bird flying away. And my thoughts carry with them the fragrance of the quality that I want to bring into that thought. So through my mind, if I create a thought that I am a soul filled with love, just that little light, that little candlelight filled with so much light, I, the soul, I'm filled with love. And I can even visualize this beautiful bird flying away, carrying the spirit of love all around. And I visualize this beautiful flame, tiny little flame, the candlelight. And now this little flame filled with light reminds me that I, the soul, I'm also filled with the energy of peace. And I visualize a beautiful bird flying away, carrying the spirit of peace. So in that beautiful moment of silence, I generate waves of peace, waves of love, waves of happiness. As if I don't expect anything from anyone. I don't expect anything from the world. I'm just this beautiful flame, burning with the light of peace, the light of love, the light of happiness. And just for a moment, I'm offering myself to the world. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. I have everything. It's deep within me, just burning like a beautiful flame that I've reawakened. And I offer that flame as a gift to the world. And I see that there are so many other flames like me also shining in the dark, creating such a beautiful scene with thousands and millions of beautiful points of light, recreating light for the world, bringing light to the world, being the lights of the world. This is my offering to the world. and it's a sacred offering. And now when I come back and become aware again of my own surroundings and the scenes that I'm going to go through in the next few minutes, few hours, I keep in mind that that little flame is still burning in me and will always be burning there. And when I see others the way we see each other right now, I'll see in the eyes of others that little flame. And I'll show my flame through my eyes. And I'll smile to others. And I know that smile will mean that I have love for you, I have peace for you, and I also have happiness for you. And I'm offering them in the form of this beautiful flame, the soul. So I don't know about you, but for me, there was just light. Zoom disappeared. I feel there's air conditioning now in my room. This is lovely. Meditation has many good benefits. So I hope everyone has a smile right now on the face. I hope your eyes are shining. I hope everyone, receives something from the last hour and then got a few thoughts that you can use. And I send you all my greetings, all my love and regards and highest respect to accompany you on your journey. And hopefully the journey will be good and we'll see everything with the right lens.
Thank you so much, Brother Eric. It was very, very enlightening. And thank you for the reminder and the vision that we all are our own flames, and keep that burning and keep that alive. And also keep that, so we can share our spark and keep that light glowing, so we can illuminate the path for so many others to grow. Now I would like to invite Sister Claudia to say a few words.
Om Shanti, Eric. Thank you very much.
Yes, hello Claudia, nice to see you. I saw you, you're in the corner of my screen from the beginning, so I feel I have my dearest friend here in Vancouver looking at me from the beginning, so I'm testing your smile from the beginning. It's good that I see your face, and I like the Zoom thing. It's wonderful, because if you had to wait for me to come back to Vancouver, it can take a long time. So thank you so much for this invitation, and I really enjoyed having you on the screen of my mind and of the screen of my computer for the past hour and a half.
And also thank you for bringing some warm weather, because here in Vancouver is very cold.
Oh, good.
It's rainy and cold. So it's good to have that warm weather coming from you, and also the warmth that you bring to us with all this knowledge is very nice. And then showing us how to put a new glass, and then sometimes the glass that we have is a little bit foggy, so how to clean our glass. And so thank you for taking the time. It was very, I wish we could have you more times, but I know you are too busy. But at least we're lucky to have you with us today. Thank you very much. And I'm sure everybody appreciates it. Everybody says thanks to you. So thank you once more, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Yes. Thank you, Claudia. I'll come back. Take advantage of my process of thinking differently. And these days I'm thinking, I'm not busy, I'm easy. So take advantage. I'll be back. I'll be back whenever you want.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us and sharing and creating this space. So should you like to get benefit more of what you just experienced, please see the link down below. And we have meditations, Raj Yoga classes, series of other programs that are taking place for you to benefit. And so please do create and share the space. It is created for you so you can take benefit and connect with yourself, connect with the power to recharge your power so you can start changing the vision and the lens of your vision that you would like to create moving forward. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you, more of you, on our other programs that are available and provided just for you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, everyone. Goodbye.